So now that you saw, prior to the birth of my child, Justin Colon and his family were doing everything in their power to possibly cover up the fact that their son is in fact abusive, and you have to wonder, what is a group of people, what are they literally trying to hide within their family? They're going to go through great lengths to break federal laws. Now again, Jill Colon was an elementary school teacher at St. Lake George Elementary in Palm Harbor. Robert Stephen Colon worked as a counselor for the county and their services called Healthy Families. Justin Colon worked at Big 3 Studios in St. Petersburg part-time. What I'm going to discuss now is the birth. Prior to the birth of my child, Justin Colon and his mother Jill Colon, including sister Marley, told me that they were going to find out where I was giving birth, come to the hospital, cause a scene so they can remove my baby boy from the hospital. And in fact, that did happen. Now, right before I had given birth, you can see on my old Facebook that when I went into labor, I went to one hospital. And during that birth, Justin Colon wasn't with me, and he was sending me text messages, calling me a cunt, and you're this and you're that. I went to a hospital in Palm Harbor, Meese Countryside Hospital, and unfortunately at the time, I wasn't thinking that Justin Colon's sister Natalie was just in training, starting to work on the maternity floor of these sister hospitals. So I went to Meese Countryside and Palm Harbor Hospital, which I would never recommend to any mother. I left that hospital because they let Justin Colon in the room when I had asked them numerous times to make him leave. He did not. They refused to. And I had a nurse come in, and part of the reason why they were telling me that I was going to be forced to have individuals in the room during my birth was so his sister could come in to watch the birth. And I told them, hell no. In fact, they went up and brought the charge nurse into my room while I'm in labor, and she told me that we'll compromise. I informed her there is no compromising when it comes to me giving birth to my child, and if you don't remove this IV out of my arm, I will do it myself, because I'd rather deliver my baby in a box like a cat than be a guinea pig. I do not believe in the American way of medicine. In fact, a lot of people, and I will throw this in there, forget that doctors are working for you. You're paying the doctor to give you a service. You don't have them telling you what to do. So I ended up getting ready to leave that hospital, and I left that hospital. And I went to Morton Plant in Clearwater. While I was there, Justin, of course, he followed me. He came to the hospital while I was there. And I get to the hospital, and I'm in labor, and I'm hurting. I mean, at this point I was in labor, and for days they will not let me eat anything, and it's so stupid. They don't let you eat because they don't want you to puke on them. They don't want you to eat because they don't want you to poop on them or pee on them. And that's the truth, because they paralyze your esophagus and all that, or whatever that is, when you're getting cesarean. So don't believe that hype. So I was starving, and I was up for days in labor. During this entire period, Justin Colon is by my side, calling me names, cursing me out. In fact, Justin Colon was kicked out of the room numerous times, and I had pleaded with one of the nurses and told her, don't let him in here anymore. But the mistake was made. When I went to Morton Plant Hospital, I was totally unaware that his sister Natalie was now an employee of this specific maternity ward, labor and delivery. Now, I ended up having my baby, and right after the birth, it was a natural birth, by the way. Everything was fine, went perfect. I gave birth to my son. When I went to go cry, I mean, they laid him on the chest, and it was the best thing that ever happened to me, and I was in shock and awe because he was so small. Justin Colon, I went to cry, and he snapped at me, like, don't even show emotion, and I was terrified, still very much terrified in this shell shock of Stockholm, and it's a terrifying condition to live with. And right after his birth, Justin Colon was kicked out of the room. He had one of his fits in front of all the nurses and calling me ugly and stupid and all these other things. He was not interested in holding the baby whatsoever. But here's the catcher. By this entire scenario, what has transpired at this point, he was kicked out of the room. My best friend was there. Let me be clear. My best friend got the father's bracelet. Let me be clear. My child got my last name, Prosperous. Justin Colon and the staff was instructed not to put his name on the birth certificate, but lo and behold, the joy of sisters and having a sister that works on the floor and has friends there. right? So Justin Cullen came back into the room not long after I had given birth. The baby was checked out. He's fine. The nurse that's friends with Natalie took my baby, handed the baby to Justin, and I have a picture of that, and he's looking at this child like he's disgusted. During this time, I'm getting wheeled out of my room to go to recovery, mother and baby floor, which is across the hall. Boom, boom, doors open up. It's Justin's mother and sister, Natalie. I go into a full-blown panic. I don't get to enjoy anything. I'm going down the hall with my little baby, so proud. I'm finally bringing him out in front of people. The doors open up, and there they are. They're there to commit their plan, to finish their plan. They were going to come in, cause a scene, try to get me to scream, try to get me to yell, so they can go, see? Call child services. We got to take the baby right away. I panic. I looked up to the doctor that delivered my son, and I looked at her and I said, call security. Get them out of here. She goes, I ain't no cop. And the nurse goes, wait a second. Some nurse from across the hall saw me panic, and she goes, what's wrong? And then my friend James says, look, they're here. They're going to try to make a scene. Get them out. At that point, the baby and I had went on a security lockdown, and we were enlisted in the hospital. I had told the nurse, do not let Justin Cullen back into this room. He is on the list. No. Well, lo and behold, Natalie, his sister, made sure, and her friends made sure he can come back. While I was staying there, Justin Cullen was continually abusive and rude and just nasty. He stole money out of my wallet during the time I was in labor and going down to the cafeteria and buying him whatever the hell he wanted. And when it was time to do the birth certificate, I made it more than clear when they came in to get my information, he is not to be on the certificate at all. Lo and behold, when I found out weeks later, months later when I did pick up the birth certificate, Justin Cullen did in fact go into the hallway with Natalie's friends, and they did put him on the birth certificate behind my back. I obtained medical records from Morton Plant Hospital, and I just want to point this out real quick, that Morton Plant Hospital put on my record that I had birthed my baby vaginally, which is true. However, on my son's medical records, it says that he was born by cesarean, and right after his birth, mother refused to let child be checked out, and he needed NICU support, or NEO support. My son didn't need anything. Where does that come from? How does a mother have a vaginal birth, but yet somehow his sister, Justin Cullen's sister, Natalie, works on that same floor, and somehow in the medical records, I'm tied to a table with my belly being cut open, my insides being taken out of my body, supposedly. And supposedly I'm strapped to a table and yet still have the power to not let any nurse or doctor remove that child from my abdomen and what did they cut a baby out and lay him on the table? That is the severity of this situation. So from the beginning, it started. However, we're going to read a little note from social services. Now keep in mind, Justin's father works for Healthy Families. Justin's father and his sister works for this, his father works for social services. It's a division under TCF, CPS. Now this is what happens. This is what the social services notes say, that they met with a couple, they were sleepy and only answered questions briefly. Social Security's offers to return labor, but they stated no. SSS will return in the morning and review community resources. This is the couple's first child. They recently moved to Clearwater a few months ago from California. I'm from California. Justin is from Florida. From my knowledge, he has never been in the state of California, and Justin Cullen, from my knowledge, has never lived in Clearwater, Florida. Stated they have some family local who are helping them with housing. Father of baby is looking for employment. Mother plans to stay at home for now and care for baby. Couples do receive WIC, food stamps, and Medicaid. What? Let me be very clear. I was never on Medicaid. I paid over $611 a month, and you're going to see that I was not on Medicaid, nor was my child, because he is my responsibility. So apparently we're on food stamps and broke. And it goes on to say that they were going to come in and talk about SIDS and home visiting programs. I met with a caseworker and they did not need help, nothing for me, she stated. Now, here we go. SS explained both Healthy Start and Healthy Families home visiting programs, and mom declined. Mom denies any drugs, criminal, or mental health issues. Drug test is a negative. What the fuck? Okay. Healthy families. Now, if you look up healthy families, they have nothing to do with newborns. Nothing. So from the very beginning, they're making sure they document that. Do you know, a lot of people watch these videos, and I want to be clear, they always say, oh, she's not screaming and crying for the love of God. You think I'm going to act like an imbecile. I am from the beginning. War and plan. These are their documents. My medical records. I can legally show these.